when you first started out making beats, what was that experience like back then versus to where you are now? You know, like what are some challenges you had creating beats before that you don't have now?
I put a lot of pressure on myself. I still do, but early on, just to make the process go faster, because I felt like I was behind. Because I didn't, like, everybody that I know kind of started making beats in their teenage years, and I didn't start until I was 24 when I made my first beat. Like, it was kind of like when I started. So that every time I sat down, and if I come up with nothing, I feel like I failed. But I was learning, and I wasn't giving myself that space to do that. Now I don't have that at all, because like I look at producing like baseball. The best hitters only get a hit 3 times out of 10. So like if you're just taking the reps and staying inspired, you're going to make 3 dope beats out of 10. You know what I mean? So
interesting.
Yeah, so that's my approach, because I know I'm going to make quality music. I know I'm going to try to make the best music out that I possibly can, but it just you don't do it. Like, there's times where you make 8 great beats in a row, but then there's times where you make 5 subpar joints, you know?
Right.
So
What's good, y'all? This is Krill from Out the Box Talks. I am back for a brand new episode. I want to thank each and every one of you all for checking me out, tuning in to the platform. If you caught the show that we did over the weekend, we did a special tribute. Well, not a tribute show. We did a special show in review of the new Black Star album. Shout out to my brother A-Level and my brother Mark, who were involved in that. We did that live on the YouTube channel. And yeah, man, that was wonderful to be able to do that. I always love when I can get those brothers involved in our Out the Box Talks panel, can discuss new music and, you know, topics of relevance to hip hop. So yeah, man, I thank any and each and every one of y'all that tuned into that. As always, I'm back for another episode. This is episode 106 of Out the Box Talks podcast. I got a special guest on the show with me today, an artist that I actually go back a bit with, and you know, been looking to get him on the platform. He was on the platform before for a shorter interview, but we're gonna talk to him a little longer about his latest project that's out right now. He is a producer. So yeah, we're going to talk to him in a little bit. But before I jump into that, I want to shout out a few things Out the Box related. As you know, we got our website, the new music blog, outtheboxmedia.com, where you can get access to interviews and a lot of brand new music that comes out on a regular. So mostly hip hop and soul music, creative and conscious hip hop, as well as dope quality soul music. If you've been checking out the website, you know I do the monthly best hip hop albums and EPs, as well as the best soul albums and EPs. Try to do that every month. So we got the latest list up for the month of April. So go check that out on the website. There's a tab that says hip hop and soul that you can click on at the top of the website to find out the list of favorite and best hip hop and soul projects to come out each month, beginning in this year of January, the first month of January of this year. So go check that out. Also, we have our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/outtheboxmedia, where you can get access to interview clips that are not available to the general public. You know, these are actually, I say interview clips, but these are like, some of these interviews are pretty long. A lot of them are like 20 minutes in length, you know, per interview. So there's over 40 interviews on the platform that you can go get access to for a small fee monthly. So that's on the Patreon page, patreon.com/outtheboxmedia. Remember, these interviews are not available to the general public. If you want to get an idea of the different artists that we have interview clips on, you can go to this link and it'll give you kind of a preview of the different artists that we have interviews for. Again, 40 interviews and 40 plus interviews on there. All right. Then we also have for those that's watching on YouTube Out the Box TV, we got the Out the Box Talks podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and generally where you would listen to, podcasts. So there you can find the high quality version of these episodes there. Specifically if you prefer to listen to audio podcasts instead. All right. And if you would like to donate to the platform, we have our Cash App, which is #, Out the Box Rep, and paypal.me/outtheboxmedia. Right. So when you're donating to the platform, you're not just donating to support Out the Box TV and the Out the Box Talks interviews. You supporting Out the Box Media, period, right? Whether it's our new music blog, the music reviews that we do on our Out the Box Media channel, and all things related to Out the Box. There's a lot that it takes to keep the wheels running with this platform. So, just remember, whatever you donate, it is appreciated. All right. And if you're watching on YouTube and you have not subscribed yet and you like the content, feel free to subscribe to this channel, Out the Box TV. Like I also said, I have a review channel, which is Out the Box Media on YouTube. That's the channel where I try to do a lot of music reviews on that channel specifically. All right. So you can go over there as well. All right. So I just wanted to get those things out the way. Also, we have a merch store, outtheboxmedia.bigcartel. I'm going to be looking to put some more new merch items up on that store. So you can go to that link as well to support the platform in that way. All right. So, yeah, I just wanted to get those things out the way. I thank y'all again for staying the course, for this intro. So I want to get into our main, topic of the day, which as always is our interview with a special artist, special hip hop or soul guest. Today, it's a little different because I usually don't do a lot of interviews with producers, but it doesn't mean that I don't like doing interviews, but this is a brother that's been doing this thing for a while. Like I said earlier, I go back some time with him, and he definitely has a solid approach when it comes to producing and very quality output in terms of his music. He's done a number of projects over the years. I'm looking at ranging back to 2011 with the Maticulous EP, as well as the Maticulous LP in 2015. He put out 2 collabo projects in 2019 and 2020 with MC Justo the MC. One is called Mind of a Man and County of Kings. And then last year in 2021, he put out his latest project entitled No Caps, which features a host of extremely talented MCs from Homeboy, Sandman, Sky Zoo, Justo the MC, Kev Brown, Jay Cyanide, Guilty Simpson, Breeze Bruin, Uptown XO, YU, MAV, and Ill Conscious, to name some of the artists on that album. And in the Meticulous LP, he also kind of entered with a host of other dope MCs on there too, from Your Old Droog, Lil Fame, Rod Digger, Guilty Simpson. So yeah, man, the list goes on in terms of the artists he's worked with. And we're gonna talk to him about this new project, No Caps, but also about his journey and his approach as a producer. So without further ado, I want to welcome to our Out the Box Talks listening and viewing audience, my homie, hailing native of Pittsburgh, right? Representing the Pittsburgh area, but also New York based, Brooklyn based at this time. I want to welcome to our Out the Box Talks platforms, the homie Maticulous. Welcome to Out the Box.
Yo, what's good, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. That was dope.
Indeed, man. It's a pleasure having you on the platform. I know it's been a minute, man. Like, me and you definitely go back together, working together,
Yeah,
so
man.
it's so dope to see you grow and develop into who you are now, you know, and doing the music and producing. That's an awesome thing, man. Cause I remember like literally sitting side by side, you know, of you and seeing you early in the game, like sharing beats and, you know, showcasing your talents, man. So it's dope to see how far you've come and how, you know, and your output so far in the game, man. You
I
know?
really appreciate that, man. Yeah, back when we worked together at Fat Beats, man, that was like I was very focused on trying to get my craft to a point where I was comfortable releasing music, and that was just like that was a big driving force in that era. And that's cool that that's cool you remember it too, because I remember playing beats for you guys and just being
Yep.
all like, yeah. So
Indeed,
yeah,
man. You definitely, you know, it's not a lot of people that, you know, may start out like that and take it so serious. Like you took it extremely serious. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about how you got from point A to point B to where you are now. But I wanted to talk to you just to kind of kick off the interview about your humble beginnings, right? Like what made you, I feel like I've known you for a while, but I've never gotten your story, right? In terms of what made you inspired to do music and to become a producer. Give me a history of how you got on that path.
um, I mean, I just always listened to hip hop. I mean, ever since I came to just really loving music, it was like first it was R&B, and then it kind of evolved into hip hop. And I didn't realize how serious I was about it until um, probably like 19. And I just, not to sound corny, but I was like, I want it to be a part of my life forever. And I don't know how I can do that other than making music. And like, I wanted to basically just inspire people the way I was inspired by the culture and the music. So, yeah, that's where it started. And then from there, it went from getting an internship and working my way through Fat Beats and kind of kind of using the experience I got from Fat Beats to kind of like help me create faster. Because like I don't think if I was immersed in it every day. Because when I moved here, hadn't made a beat yet. I moved here to make beats, but I didn't make a beat yet. So like I from the time I moved here is like when I started the actual creative journey, basically. So
Wow, man.
yeah, that's the gist of it.
Indeed. And I mean, when you speak about Fat Beats, like there was I think about the Brown Bag All Stars and just like that movement that was happening around that time, you know, like how much of that kind of that experience being around like fellow producers, like Audible Doctor and like how
Well,
much that like inspired you to kind of push forward.
the thing about that was I was managing and buying at the store, and then when I moved to the warehouse is when Brown Bag started. So I wasn't privy to all the early stuff, like I was really good friends with Audible Doctor, but he was telling me they started making music and stuff, and like I had been just kind of working on beats myself, and then finally like I slid them a beat and they used it for one of their it was like, what was it called, like Brown Bag something. They released a song every week for a while, but that was like my first real placement, and it just like made me even hungrier. Just like
Wow.
I was ready to like skip a bunch of steps, and I wasn't ready to do that yet, but I was just like, I need to get like placements on all these things and shit. So yeah, it's you learn.
Yeah. When you think back about like who some of your inspirations were from an artist perspective, like who are some of the artists that you I guess learned from that made you really feel like, wow, I could really do this, like you could give this thing a serious shot.
You mean like personal or like inspiration from
Just
stuff that I
inspiration.
listen to?
Yeah,
I
inspiration to actually
yeah.
produce
I
yourself.
mean, like Dilla, DJ Quick, Premier, High Tech, um, hip hop wise, but like, I never even considered being able to do it as good as them, but I wanted to do my version of that. And yeah, it's inspiring to listen to their music, and I just want to try to do that myself too, because how much I appreciate it. So yeah,
Indeed.
those are the bigger ones.
Nice, nice. What would you say, like, I guess when it comes to like starting out producing, like what was the beat machine or method of producing you used when you first started out making beats?
So when I got here, I didn't have any hardware other than a keyboard. It had a sequencer, but I didn't like it at all. So it took me about a year, and I bought a computer, and I used Reason for about a month, and I didn't like it. So then I got a MPC 2000 XL, and I still use it, but I do a lot of my stuff in Pro Tools and with like VSTs and records, you know. But yeah, that was the gear of choice was the MPC. I didn't like software. I didn't like Reason. I didn't like the sequencing on it. But I'm like a visual guy kind of. So I needed, you know, on the MP you can toggle the wheel, and then in Pro Tools you can see the waves and all that stuff. So
Got it.
and that's still what I use to this day. Like everybody gets new equipment every like 6 months. I'm just kind of I stick with what works for me.
Do you find that the MP is easier to use than like possibly even like using a DAW? Like how do you feel about the
I
two different?
I um I don't use the MPC as much because I feel like I'm more efficient and I can get my ideas out if I know what I'm going to sample, and then
Mm,
I imported it like into whatever
right.
computer program like Pro Tools or whatever, and then my workflow is more creative and efficient. So I guess I would prefer software now as opposed to hardware, because I feel like I'd be more precise and also give it more of a human feel when I can manipulate it myself like that.
What was the experience like versus where you are now as a producer, you know, when you when you first started out, right? When you first started out making beats, what was that experience like back then versus to where you are now? You know, like what are some challenges you had creating beats before that you don't have now?
I put a lot of pressure on myself.
Mm,
I still do, but early on, just to make the process go faster, because I felt like I was behind. Because I didn't like everybody that I know kind of started making beats in their teenage years, and I didn't start until I mean, I was 24 when I made my first meh beat. Like it was kind of like when I started. So that every time I sat down, and if I come up with nothing, I feel like I failed. But
mm,
I was learning, and I wasn't giving myself that space to do
mm,
that.
mm,
Now I don't have that at all, because like I look at producing like baseball. Um,
mm.
the best hitters only get a hit 3 times out of 10. So like if you're just taking the reps and staying inspired, you're gonna make 3 dope beats out of 10. You know what I mean? So
Interesting.
um, yeah, so that's my approach, because I know I'm gonna make quality music. I know I'm gonna try to make the best music out that I possibly can, but it just you don't do it. Like there's times where you make 8 great beats in a row, but then there's times where you make 5 subpar joints, you
Right,
know?
right, right.
So
I,
yeah.
I can dig it, man, because I started making beats within, was it this 2022? My first started doing it for the first time last year, like early last year, and I definitely could dig what you're saying. You know, my question for you though is like, being that you've been doing it a lot longer, like how do you know like which is a throwaway versus which is not a throwaway, right? Because I think sometimes we could be extremely critical when it comes to making beats as to what we think is hot, but maybe somebody else might hear it and be like, "Oh, nah, that's the," you know.
Yo, you're totally right. I sometimes I have a folder of, I call them, you know, like the average joints or whatever. And not like I'll bring the sessions up sometimes, and sometimes I'll be like, man, that shit sucked, and then I'll go back and listen to another one like a month later. I'm like, man, all right. I'm gonna try to work on that still and see what happens. So there's that, and then there's ones where you just know, like, you know, within the first, like, I'll know when I'm chopping a sample, and if I get a nice bounce within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I know it's going to be something. It's just a matter of having the patience to put, you know, the right bass line on it, or the right drums. Don't sound too forced. Give it some, you know, space for the MC. But yeah.
Got it. So when did you decide that you wanted to be more than just like a beat tape producer? Because, you know, there's a lot of producers out there, and that they mainly do that, right? Like, I mean, not saying they do projects with other people, but for the most part, their thing is beat tapes, right?
Yeah.
Like, when did you go from like, you know what, I don't want to just do beats and put out beat tapes, like I want to collaborate with other MCs? When did you realize that, and how did you always envision that happening?
I never wanted to be a beat tape producer, ever. Like, my first project was the Maticulous EP, because I love beat tapes, but my purpose is to make dope shit to be rhymed over or sung over. Like, that's how I feel I best contribute to this art. And I did beat tapes because I released producer albums, and there was kind of a, you know, I don't know, just kind of like a need to contribute in that area too, just to have, just to, you know, circulate your name and all that stuff. But my preference is to do an artist, like one artist, one producer albums. Like, that's my favorite process, because it's very, you're bouncing ideas off just one person, and you can kind of, yeah, that's my favorite method. But I mean, I'm not saying I'll never release a beat tape again.
Yeah.
But it's just not for me most of the time.
Yeah, I remember you put out this beat tape project called Mellow Intros in 2011. That was such a dope tape, man.
No, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, you know, being that you said that you always wanted to be able to collaborate with one producer, and I know you've done that with Justo the MC, what is it about that experience that is so fulfilling to you, to be able to one-on-one, you know, produce an MC?
Because sometimes when you work on singular tracks, you can't, it's not like an in-depth process for the most part. Whenever you're doing an album with one artist, it's just like, it's a collection of ideas between these, like the producer and the MC. And I enjoy that. I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to play a whole bunch of beats and hearing and seeing what inspires someone else. Because the first time I did a project with one artist was Audible Doctor in 2013, I believe it was. It was, we went by Automatic. We did a 6-track EP, and we released a song a week for a month, and then 2 weeks later released it.
Right?
What's that?
The Audiomatic, the manual EP, was that was
Automatic, yeah. Audible Doctor and Maticulous. Yeah. So that was the first time, and it was really dope, because, you know, I've been friends with him since 2004, so it was pretty easy to like do a project.
Dope. So when I look at the Maticulous EP, the Maticulous LP, and the No Caps project, these are all producer compilation projects, and you feature a lot of dope and notable hip-hop MCs on these projects. For the sake of this question, let's just start with the Maticulous LP. However, what was it like getting your first 3 features on that project, and how did it transfer to the plethora of MCs that the album ended up having?
You're talking about the LP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a group from Pittsburgh called Folkland, and I did a couple tracks with them on Mellow 2, my second kind of instrumental project, but some of them had songs. And we had an extra song, and I wanted to use it, but I didn't want to put it on Mellow. So I was like, man, I'm gonna stash this, because I might do another producer album. So that was the first joint. And the next track, I think it might have been the Guilty Simpson and Rock from Helter Skelter joint. And then Black Hoodie Rap was the third one with Raw Digga and Fame. And I wanted to make it an LP because I didn't want to do another EP, because the EP was five songs and then an intro with J Zone. Right. And I wanted to have a longer project, so it was 11 tracks.
Got it. Yeah, I think it closed out at like close to 30 minutes or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but and the reason why I asked that question really to get at the core of, like, you know, it's one thing to be able to produce music, right? But it's another thing to be able to recruit or to get certain guests to appear on your album. And these are not like, these are like really notable artists, a lot of them, you know what I mean? Like, even if you go back, even if you look at this project that you have out here, like, you got some pretty notable names. Of course, they're like mostly known in the independent scene, but these are also very notable MCs. You know, and when you talk about your Maticulous LP, you got Lil Fame on here, you got Rod Digga, you got Guilty Simpson, you got your old Droog, you know, Master Ace, you know, Blue. Like, how did you muster up the ability to be able to get their attention, you know, to be a part of these projects?
I definitely used a lot of patience first. Like, it's you got to be really patient to do a producer album, and mixed with my connections through Fat Beats. And I like to pair artists that never worked together before. So I was introduced to Fame, and he had never been on a joint with Raw Digga before, other than a remix of was it the Annie Up remix, maybe? So that wasn't like an official joint, you know?
Right.
So that was the first time they were on a song together. And Master Ace had never worked with Blue before. And that beat, Master Ace was on that beat. And then I asked Blue if he wanted to be on a joint with Master Ace. He's like, of course, you know, like who wouldn't want to be in a joint with Master Ace? And that was the same with like the EP. I'm a big fan of R.A. the Rugged Man, and I always wondered why he never worked with any Duck Down artists. So I was like, let's put them on a joint. And then after that joint, R.A. worked with Rusty a couple more times. He might have, I don't know if he worked with Rock again, but yeah. So that's just like, I like to, you know, put my flavor on some producer projects, you know, like just like, because for even No Caps, they're like, I couldn't hear Breeze Brewin and Al Scratch on a joint together, but it really works. Like, that's what people say. I'm like, that's, you know, that's what I'm trying to do.
I think I got to give you your props for having such a calculated mindset in bringing these artists together. Like what got you, I guess, in that mindset to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna. Because, you know, I've never gotten a chance to ask a producer, especially people who do compilation albums, how they go about getting, you know, because it's not just like, a lot of the tracks aren't just like one person, right? Like, there's multiple people on each track, right? So yeah, I mean, like, was that something you just sat and contemplated on? Like, where did that thought even begin from, to say, you know what, I want to pair this person with this person?
Because there are classic producer albums like Welcome to Detroit and Soul Survivor, but like the other 90% of producer comps are, I mean, I don't want to say terrible, but it just feels like you're just listening to a compilation of songs, you know, like just different artists slapped together. I wanted to make all mine sound like albums, because I kind of go through these beats and see which ones sound good together, have like a flow to them, and then I reach out to the artists to give it like a more full and like front to back experience, other than like, oh, I got to skip to track 7, I got to go to 11, and then so yeah, that's I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, you got it, yeah.
But yeah, that's my approach to doing producer records, is I want to make them sound like an album.
I could dig that. What would you say has been like the most challenging experience you had in getting these artists to be featured on the album the way you intended?
What was my most challenging one? I am grateful that the first one was really easy because it enabled me to want to do another one, because I told people how long it took, and it didn't take that long at all. Like from the first song I recorded, the album was out maybe 10 months later, which is crazy.
Wow.
But I probably this one, because there was one track that I had a really hard time with a couple artists. Just, I don't know, like, rappers are tough sometimes. Like, they can be flakes and they can say one thing and do another. But I was okay with it this time because my intentions on making No Caps was to do something creative during the pandemic. Because I didn't think I'd ever do another producer album again. And I had just put out a project with Justo in 2020, like 2 months after the pandemic started, and I was just making beats every day. I was in a zone. I was home all day. I was just really creative, and I was like, these have to see light some way. So that's why I did it. And it was definitely my favorite project to do, for sure.
Wow. Like in out of all of your
projects, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Because the unique setting of how and why I made this music. Because like I make music all the time, but I kind of treated this like a fun 9 to 5. You know, like I would wake up, make my daughter breakfast, put her on her Zoom call, and while she did her homework, like I was just making beats. I'd have records on all day. It was a great vibe for our house, man. We just kind of tried not to stress out and keep it artistic, you know.
Dope. So, you know, speaking about the album No Caps, can you talk to me about how the title came to be and the significance of, you know, that wording?
So I spell my name all lowercase, and for years everybody just spells it with a capital M, and I didn't want to call it the maticulous LP2 or whatever, so I just figured like no caps, just no caps when you spell my name, no caps.
Right. Shout out to Doom.
Yeah.
But does it have anything to do, like, outside of it just being, you know, the way you spell out your name with the no caps, did it have anything to do with the music?
Yeah, it actually did. Yeah, if you can read into it, you know, no cap, like, you know, I'm trying to say like the music isn't, you know, it's the truth. So,
right.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And was that sort of like the feeling you were getting as you were creating it too? Like, was that essence of it?
Yeah, I was very very happy, very inspired with everything that came back to me. Because you know, I would, like, for instance, the Guilty joint, Homegoing, I made that beat on a Sunday, and it felt like a very kind of boom bap church vibe. And I was like, man, I think Guilty would kill this. And I sent it to him. He's like, you know, that's A1. I have an idea for it. Let me let you know in a second. So he hit me back and he was like, I want to talk about a pimp's funeral on it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's crazy. Do it. Do your thing. Wow. And he sent it back.
Interesting how they come up with these themes, right? Yeah. Shout out to
Guilty. Yeah, man. And he sent it back, and I thought it was going to be a 16, and he sent me a 32. And I was like, man, I'm not even getting anyone else on this. This is perfect. Like, you'll ruin the story if you put somebody else on there. He just like painted a picture, and I'm just like, that's it, you know.
Which is another dope thing as a producer, to be able to like see the vision and like not get in the way of it, you know. Like, yeah, let's keep it going the way it is, so we can get this whole story, you know, conveyed.
Absolutely.
So in regards to this project, you know, we're talking specifically about No Caps. What type of sounds were you looking for to produce this project? Like, was there a certain sound that you were looking for in terms of the samples or the instruments you were pulling from?
No, not necessarily. I just try to keep it like in a I don't know, a bounce that isn't very prevalent in hip hop anymore. I feel like everything is very slow, and not that slow is a bad thing. It's just very slow, and it's a very one note in my opinion. And I don't think anything has that, like, just like the head nod appeal to it. And I don't want to make it dated, you know, because a lot of people have a bad connotation of boom bap lately, and it's weird because you don't have to. Some boom bap sounds very mechanical and dated, but like you can't not have any funk in hip hop. I don't hear it much, so that I wanted to have like the head nod ability and just kind of zone into the music.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could dig it. A little bit more about how you went about getting the guests that are featured on this project. Were these artists planned, or did they just come together by happenstance in terms of who you picked?
Well, my initial thought for this album was to get duos on it. You know, for instance, YU and XO were in Diamond District.
Right.
And I love Diamond District, and I've always wanted to work with those two guys. And then what was the other one? I wanted to get Ill Conscious and Jay Royale. And Jay Royale, he took a little too long because he was doing a bunch of different stuff, and he had to do that stuff first before he got to mine. And it got to like the end, so I scrapped that and put Mav on there because I really like him, and that ended up working out. And that's like the pathway the project went, because I had one artist in mind and then try to get another one to like keep it kind of local, you know, like the Guilty Simpson joint was supposed to be 2 Detroit Emcees, but he crushed that joint all by himself, so I'm not trying to get anybody else. And then like the Sky Zoo joint, I never worked with Sky Zoo before, and I had that beat he was on for a while, and I got Justo on that because they're Brooklyn Emcees.
Yeah.
So I tried to have like strong duos from the same region on each joint.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I didn't notice that off the bat. But yeah, because you can see Kev Brown and Jay Sinai sort of the same region as well.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. The Homeboy Sandman intro, how did that come to be? Because that's not a duo, and I'm not seeing the duality or the duos.
So yeah, that joint, I wanted it to be my intro, and the last couple, the LP in this project, I started out with one MC, and I like that that way to kind of set off an album, because I feel like that beat kind of just leads you into the experience of the album. And I thought it would have been too long. Some people don't like one verse intros. I'm a fan of them. They kind of just set you up, basically.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's an intro, right? So
yeah,
it's supposed to be kind of short generally. And I think getting Homeboy Sandman to set off the album is perfect, because I think his voice always kind of commands your attention. His delivery, he has a very clear way of delivering his rhymes.
Definitely.
That definitely command your attention. So I think that was smart, having him, intro the album. What would you say has been like the most memorable thing about creating this album, No Caps, for you?
Probably just doing it through coronavirus and not having any expectation other than to put a great piece of art out into the world. And like just the organic nature of the process, just like wake up in the morning, play records while I'm eating breakfast, and then create from that and then share it with the world. So like my other processes are different, but this was just kind of like, you're locked down, you can't do anything else. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. So I did it.
You know, and it makes me think about also the process of what it's like to actually, you know, because I'm assuming a lot of this was recorded, you know, remotely, right? Especially with it being in the pandemic. Like, so what was the process like being able to, you know, get the vocals back and then, you know, track them over the beat and align them the right way and, you know, mesh them with the other guest vocals? Like, what was that like the, I guess the sequencing and the, you know, getting the right verses and the right, you know, flow to match the beat and everything, that whole process, what was that like for you?
Other than making the beat, sequencing and arranging album is my
Oh,
favorite part of it, because
yeah, go ahead.
you can bring you bring everything, like you are presenting your plate to your, you know, your listener. Like the way you arrange the whatever you cook up on the plate is like, that's an experience, you know. So you don't want to mess up any part of it. You want to deliver it to someone where they're like, they don't even realize it's dope because they're just taking it in, as
Mm,
opposed to like just thinking too much. It's just good, you know. So that's all. That's my favorite part.
wow. I wouldn't even think that. I thought that would be sort of like a challenge, right? Like I mean, not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's easy, but like I would think like, man, like making sure everything matched up the right way, and like you said, arranging and sequencing, and you know, like it does take a certain attention to detail, and as you said earlier, like a certain level of patience as well. All right, so what would you say was your most favorite track to create on this album?
Um, I mean, the Diamond District one, I've wanted to do for a really long time.
Mm,
Um, and getting the joint with Sky Zoo and putting Justo on that was really dope. And then I mean, they're all their own animal.
right.
Um, but yeah, just like the video shoot with Kev and Jay Cyanide was really dope. They have a really good chemistry. Like I love, I mean, I love Kev. He's one of my favorite producers, and to have him, you know, mess with my beats is it's a huge honor. And like I feel like his verse is just, it's incredible the way he comes over that beat, man. It's really dope. But yeah, man, I can't pick one really, but you know, there's highlights from each one. Um, but yeah, I
Dope.
don't know. I really enjoy the project.
Nah, I totally understand, man. Sometimes it's like, you know, you got multiple kids. It's like hard to choose, right? Like
Right,
they're
right.
all special in
Yeah.
each way. What would you say has like your creative process is like for keeping your production entertaining? Like when you want to do a beat change up or add new instruments to like an initial loop, like how's
J-
that process like for you?
just the feel of it. Um, how I feel like I'd want to listen to this track played with a rapper over it, you know? Because sometimes I feel like sequences are too long. So I'm like, oh, you need something here. Just change it up a little bit here. So I try to do that in a way that's unexpected, but like creative at the same time, not too much, because
Mm,
you don't want to do too much, but just enough
yeah,
for the ear to maintain interest.
right. And when you think about the moments where you've done that, like what are some like go-to sounds that you go to? Like, is it a drum change up or is it like a sample change up? Like, what's usually your method?
I mean, taking away is a good thing too. Like you can do drops, or you can and take the sample out, or remove a snare or something like that, just to keep, you know, keep the flavor.
I dig it. I dig it. I didn't think about it from that perspective, but yeah, that's a good point too, right? Yeah, being able to like strip away even just like one instrument makes a big difference.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so that's kind of your go-to. You for the most part, you try to take away.
And then maybe, you know, add a little something on top, maybe some different percussion, or maybe like a little synth here and there, like on the hook or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, you can't get crazy busy on hip hop songs without them sounding like it's just too much.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you don't want to have like there's a balance between like keeping someone's attention
There's a
because
repetitive.
it's repetitive, but then like if it's too repetitive, that's why hip hop's tough, man. It's simple music, but to do it very well, you gotta like think about it. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
just say yeah.
I think
Um,
I think what's always interesting too is like when you hear an MC rhyming over a beat, and there's a certain point in the song where you don't hear the beat. Like maybe it's like for 2 seconds, like it drops and it kind of
yeah,
accentuates their vocals a little bit. You know, I think I've heard you do that a few times on the projects, you know. So that's always a cool thing too. Like you were talking about stripping away, also knowing when to strip things away to help accentuate the actual MC himself too, man.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
indeed, indeed. So with so many producers putting out compilation albums that feature a host of dope MCs. I know you kind of alluded to this earlier, but tell me, you know, more in detail of like how do you always try to set yourself apart from, you know, other producers that are putting out compilation records, not just for this project, no caps, but like your other stuff. Like what are you always thinking of when you look out and you see so many other producers doing compilation albums?
I just try to just be myself and kind of gauge what is being put out at the time, and try not to do that at all,
Mm,
because there's so much music in indie hip hop that sounds exactly the same to me,
indeed.
and it's tough to uh, I mean, it's not really tough to follow those trends because everybody does it, but like I just want to try to um, put my own spin on what I think modern day hip hop is without sounding too underproduced and also too nostalgic, too dated. Because I think, I mean, the best example for me is that Little Brother "May the Lord Watch" album.
Mm-hmm.
It is what hip hop should sound like to me. Like I love that record. It
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is fantastic. Um, but I'm also very picky and critical, so that's a detriment to me.
hence the name Meticulous, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to ask this earlier, but before I leave, I definitely got to ask you about it because you put out 2 albums with him. Tell me about how you and Justo, the MC, came together, and you know what helped to develop the chemistry, you know, between you two.
um, so we were recommended to each other by a couple people, like my
Mm,
homie Carlos from Classic Material and the B Shine. I'm talking to them both around the same time because I was looking for an MC, because I wanted to produce an album. I was hungry to do it, and they both said Justo, and it just so happened he was doing an interview with the B Shine in front of Sirius XM,
mm,
and I was going to meet Eclipse, and they like introduced us, and I was like, oh shit, like, let me send you some beats, and we both have a lot of people that we know in common, and we developed a quick working relationship because it was very easy. Um, he's one of the most versatile MCs that I can think of today. Um, he can rap on anything, but he's very discerning in what he raps over, um, to make full projects sound diverse. Like he's very very good at that, and I feel like we complement each other in that way because we don't want to make the same album over and over and over.
right, right, right. Dope.
But yeah, so he actually he came up under DJ Premier and the Gangstar Foundation because his cousin was in the Gangstar Foundation. So yeah, like he we were up on Premiere show on Sirius XM, and yeah, he's been really Premiere's amazing, dude. Like he's been promoting our music and my music. Like the fact that he knows that we're, yeah, it's like it's the biggest honor I have, you know, have that dude, you know, appreciate my music and play it. Like he scratched up Close Range on his show. It's on my Instagram page. It's crazy, man. It's nuts. But we're actually doing another project together, so it'll be our third joint. It'll come out maybe this year. We'll see.
Awesome. I was just gonna ask you, like, you know, what's in store. Well, being that you do have another project, how, if you can give a glimpse of, like, you don't have to tell me like too much about it, but just like how you guys intend for it to be different, right? Because I know you said earlier, you know, Justo's really good at making, you know, not doing the same project again, and you too.
Yeah.
Like, how do y'all intend to set it apart from the others?
I mean, this one it doesn't sound like anything we've done. And it's still you know, hip hop. It's like Brooklyn hip hop stuff, but some of the sounds are different. Like we have some real down tempo stuff, like double time stuff. And the subject matter, you know, he always brings some stories into his music. So yeah, I don't think anything sounds like it right now personally, but yeah. So you'll hear it soon.
Dope. You know, you said earlier that you thought that you weren't even thinking of putting out another like compilation project, right? In regards to how No Caps came out, like where do you stand with those projects? Are you really like done? Like you're not going to be doing like all, I guess the question I'm trying to get at is like what's next even after the Justo? Like what else do you want to do?
I view producer albums, like for me personally, like I said, I want to make it sound like an album, but I feel like producer albums are dismissed by the listener because it's just a compilation, you know. So like they're never considered on album lists or anything like that. Not that I want to make lists, but it's just like I'm trying to make an album to contribute, not to be like put on playlists. You know what I mean? So I feel like I just feel like it's a lot of work for the producer because you're rounding up 10, 15, 20 artists at a time to be on this album, and it's just like it's not viewed as an album basically. So I'm not going to rule it out again because at the end of the day I always like my product, you know, like I put hard work into it and I appreciate it and I'm grateful for it. But I'm definitely working with other individual artists, hopefully producing full albums within the next year or two. So that's definitely on the horizon.
Nice. What would you say is the underlying message you want your music to offer to listeners?
Genuine, just genuine good music. I just want to put out good hip hop music that doesn't sound like everything else, and just makes you feel something, whether it's like aggression or you're just like chilling out, hanging out, whatever. Just put you in a zone, and that's what the best music has done for me. And that's definitely what I want to do for the listener.
Well, listen, man, I thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me tonight. I know it's been long overdue, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Full interview, man. I definitely wish you much continued success on the journey. I know there's a lot. I mean, I'm looking forward to see, you know, in addition to the next Justo project, but like the other like solo, you know, MC that you decide to work with, and you know how that comes out. Do you have any like conceptual projects in mind that you want to do in the future? Like
nothing concrete. I mean, I have a couple MCs that we're gonna work, but and then that will come after we start. You know what I mean? See what direction we want to take it. But yeah, nothing like, you know, like a
stone yet.
Yeah, nothing like what's going on, like streamlined topic. Like we're gonna figure it out once we get there.
Got it. Got it. I could sense that's kind of your vibe too, right? You kind of like just you go with the flow and then you think about it in the moment, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, so yeah.
I found like with MCs, if you kind of force them, they're not that inspired. So let them be inspired by what you give them, and then work with that.
Right.
I mean,
beats often always dictate. Even with me, like, you know, creating beats. Somebody asked me the other day, like, do I create the rhymes first? Like, I'm always creating the rhymes off of the beat.
Right.
The mood of the beat always dictates what I'm gonna write about. So yeah, man, that's I could definitely understand that, you know. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. You know, Maticulous is you, like I said, man, much continued success to you. Before we get out of here, do you want to tell the people where they can keep connected to you? You know, your social media, your website, you know, places where, you know, they can stay updated with Maticulous.
Yeah, man. Maticulousmusic.com is the website where you'll be led to, you know, my Instagram, Twitter. The No Caps vinyl will be shipping. It's shipped now. Finally, there was a lot of hiccups with that process and that plant. I was supposed to have it out to ship to everybody a long time ago, but now I'm finally going to have it. You can go to meticulousmusic.com and get that. It's limited quantities. Meticulous on Instagram, but you can be led to all that. And Spotify, you can find me. Apple, you can find me. Yeah, I think that's it.
Indeed, man. I know it's 2022, you know, being at this album released in 2021. Is it safe to say that you're still promoting this record? Like, will there be
yeah,
videos?
No more videos.
Okay.
No more videos, but like I'm getting constant press. Like you know, there was that book, the B-Boy document. They did a feature on me. It just came out like a month ago. More interviews. Yeah, I just like an album usually has like a 1 month run or 2 month cycle, and like I work too hard to not keep promoting it. I mean, there was a Beer Wax did a beer for No Caps. I had an album release party at Beer Wax with a brewery called 18th Ward, and they did an IPA for me. So yeah, that was dope. I mean, the merch with this album has been really fun to see come to life too. And now with the record going to ship, everyone will get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome when you can, like you said, unfortunately, a lot of albums might only last a month, but I think it's really up to the artist to extend the promotion on it. And I see that you've been definitely doing that, man. You know, yeah, man, you put a lot of work in. You got to get the most that you could get out of it.
Yeah, and you know, it's new to someone who's never heard of me before or heard any of my music. So, I mean, that's the beauty of having something last forever, is like you can have anybody check it out at any time.
Absolutely. Well, man, thank you again for being here on the platform. To all of our viewers and listeners, thank y'all for tuning in. This is episode 106. Remember to go to our website, outtheboxmedia.com, to stay updated with all things Out the Box. Remember, we got our merch page up there. You can click the tab for that. We got our Patreon page if you want to support us that way, man. And you know, continue to support dope hip-hop and creative and conscious and thoughtful hip-hop, just good hip-hop wherever it is, you know. Thank you to my guests again, Maticulous. I will catch you all on the next show. Peace, love, and light. Y'all stay healthy, stay safe, stay focused. We out. Peace.